Earth was a trap, yet the Empire entered blindly. For 300 cycles, the galactic Sithrax Empire had catalogued Earth as target designation 7739C, a primitive world orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Their long-range probes detected crude satellites, chemical propulsion and electromagnetic broadcasts that revealed a species still arguing over territorial borders. No warp signatures. No antimatter cores. No defense grids. Just a blue marble spinning in the dark, ripe for harvest. Emperor Vale X or stood before the War Council with his 6 arms spread wide in triumph. His exoskeleton gleamed under the chamber's crimson light as he declared the invasion would take less than 1 planetary rotation. The resource estimates were magnificent. Rare metals, abundant water, a biosphere that could be strip-mined for centuries. Some counselors murmured concerns about the planet's isolation, its strange absence from galactic trade routes despite having achieved radio technology over a century ago. But greed drowned out caution. What the Empire did not know was that their probes had been allowed to see exactly what humanity wanted them to see. Deep beneath the Rockies, General Aiden Kess watched the enemy fleet drop out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. His face remained calm as holographic displays filled the command center with tactical data. Around him, officers moved with practiced efficiency through the underground facility that stretched for kilometers in every direction. This bunker was one of 73 strategic nodes connected by quantum-encrypted networks that had been built over 2 generations in absolute secrecy. Kess had been a young astrophysicist when humanity detected the first alien probe entering the Oort cloud. The world's governments had reacted not with panic but with cold calculation. If one species had found them, others would follow. And when they came, Earth needed to be ready. What followed was the most ambitious deception in human history. Surface technology was deliberately kept visible and primitive. Cities continued to grow. People lived normal lives. But beneath the oceans, inside mountains, and in cloaked orbital layers that bent light around themselves, humanity built its true arsenal. Railgun platforms nested in ocean trenches. Fusion-powered fighters hidden in lunar caverns. Orbital defense stations that had floated undetected for decades, waiting. The project was called Gaia, named for the ancient Earth goddess. It was not just a weapon system. It was a promise that this world would defend itself. Beside Kess stood Lyra Chen, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces as she monitored the enemy fleet's communications. Her neural implant allowed her to process data streams faster than any conventional computer, and she had spent years studying every alien language fragment humanity had intercepted. She was the architect of the cyber warfare protocols that would turn the Empire's technology against itself. On the tactical display, Sergeant Vale Roan coordinated ground forces across 6 continents. His soldiers were not the scattered militaries of old Earth. They were the Planetary Defense Corps trained in zero-gravity combat, deep-sea warfare, and subterranean operations. They knew every tunnel, every hidden hangar, every evacuation route. And they had been waiting their entire lives for this moment. Dr. Mara Estrin stood apart from the others, her eyes fixed on the alien fleet's formation patterns. She had studied every piece of recovered alien technology, every intercepted transmission, every fragment of data that suggested how other species waged war. She understood the Sithrax Empire better than they understood themselves. She knew they believed overwhelming force guaranteed victory. She knew they had never fought an enemy that welcomed the first strike. When the Empire's vanguard ships entered lunar orbit, their sensors confirmed what the probes had reported. No active defenses. No energy barriers. No response to their hails. The fleet's admiral, a scarred veteran named Thex Euler, felt a flicker of unease. In his long career, prey always reacted. They begged, they threatened, they scrambled to surrender. The silence was wrong. But orders were orders. The first strike hit a remote region in Central Australia, a kinetic bombardment designed to demonstrate power and force capitulation. The tungsten rods screamed through the atmosphere at orbital velocity. And Earth finally revealed itself. Every evacuation protocol activated simultaneously. Maglev trains that should not have existed roared through underground tunnels, carrying civilians to shielded bunkers 3 kilometers below the surface. Traffic control AI that no alien scan had detected rerouted millions of people with flawless precision. In 90 seconds, the impact zone was empty. When the rods hit, they struck hardened decoy structures designed to absorb and disperse kinetic energy. The explosion was spectacular and completely harmless. In orbit, railgun platforms rose from the Pacific Ocean, shedding camouflage netting that had made them look like seamounts. Magnetic accelerators powered by fusion cores launched projectiles at a fraction of light speed. 3 Sithrax cruisers disintegrated before their shields could activate. Cloaked orbital stations dropped their light-bending fields. Hundreds of them, positioned in layers around the planet like a steel shell. Missile batteries locked onto targets. Laser arrays began their firing sequences. The Empire's fleet scattered in confusion. Their jamming systems activated, trying to blind human sensors. Instead, Lyra Chen's cyber warfare suite hijacked their own communications network and turned it into a weapon. False coordinates flooded their navigation systems. Tactical displays showed phantom targets. Ship-to-ship IFF protocols failed, making the fleet fire on itself. Underground hangars opened across 5 continents. Launch tubes that had been disguised as natural rock formations revealed themselves. Fighters poured into the sky, their fusion drives leaving trails of superheated plasma. These were not the primitive aircraft the aliens expected. They were equipped with technology humanity had developed in secret for a century, designed for one purpose: to kill anything that threatened Earth. Admiral Thex Euler watched his fleet die and finally understood the truth. The absence of defenses had not been weakness. It had been bait. Every sensor reading, every probe scan, every piece of intelligence had been a lie designed to lure the Empire into striking range. Earth had not hidden out of fear. Earth had hidden to ensure that when the galaxy came for them, it would come close enough to be destroyed. His flagship shuddered as railgun rounds tore through its shields. Around him, officers shouted conflicting reports. Half the fleet was gone. Ground forces that had deployed to major cities were being slaughtered by soldiers who fought with terrifying endurance and coordination. Every landing site had been predicted, every dropship trajectory calculated in advance. The humans had known exactly where the Empire would attack because they had designed the target zones to funnel invaders into kill boxes. The Emperor's voice crackled over the command channel, demanding updates, threatening execution for failure. Thex Euler said nothing. There was nothing left to say. The Empire had walked into a trap 300 years in the making, and it had closed around them with perfect timing. On Earth, General Kess allowed himself a thin smile as status reports flooded in. Enemy fleet cohesion at 18%. Orbital supremacy achieved. Ground forces neutralized. Civilian casualties minimal. Project Gaia had performed exactly as designed. Sergeant Roan's voice came through the command channel, steady and professional. Sir, the last dropship is down. All landing zones secured. They never made it past the perimeter. Dr. Estrin studied the retreating alien ships and spoke quietly. They will go back and tell the others what happened here. That Earth is not defenseless. That humanity does not surrender. Lyra Chen looked up from her displays, her expression unreadable. They will call us monsters. They will say we tricked them. Kess nodded slowly. Let them. Better to be feared than destroyed. The last Sithrax ships fled toward the edge of the system, their hyperspace drives charging desperately. Human forces did not pursue. There was no need. The message had been delivered. For 300 cycles, the galaxy had ignored Earth. Now they would never forget it. The trap had sprung. And humanity had shown the universe what happens when you underestimate the species that crawled out of Earth's gravity well and decided the stars belonged to them too. The war was just beginning. But the first battle was already won. The galaxy learns fear. The wreckage of the Sithrax fleet drifted through the outer solar system like a graveyard of shattered ambition. 17 warships had entered Earth's orbit. 3 limped away, their hulls scarred and bleeding atmosphere, their crews traumatized by what they had witnessed. Admiral Thex Euler sat in his command chair watching the blue planet shrink on the view screen, and for the first time in his 40-year military career, he felt genuine terror. They had not fought primitives. They had fought an enemy that had spent generations preparing for this exact moment. The distress beacon carried the fleet's final transmission across hyperspace channels, a warning encoded with maximum priority. But warnings travel slowly through bureaucracy, and the Sithrax Empire was vast. By the time the message reached the core worlds, 2 more fleets had already been dispatched to investigate why the first had gone silent. On Earth, General Aiden Kess stood in the same command center where he had orchestrated humanity's first victory. But there was no celebration in his eyes. The holographic display showed new contacts emerging from hyperspace at the system's edge. 47 ships this time, twice the size of the first wave. The Empire was not retreating. It was escalating. Dr. Mara Estrin studied the fleet composition with clinical precision. Heavy cruisers, battle carriers, planetary bombardment platforms. They are not coming to occupy. They are coming to erase us. Sergeant Vale Roan checked his tactical readouts, his jaw tight. Our orbital platforms took damage in the first engagement. We can hurt them, but if they stand off and bombard from range? They won't, Lyra Chin interrupted, her neural implant flickering with data streams. I have been monitoring their communications since the survivors fled. The Empire's War Council refuses to believe the First Fleet was defeated by humans. They think Admiral Thex encountered a hidden alien protectorate. They think we have allies. Kes turned to face her. Do they know the truth? Not yet. But they will learn it today. Chen's fingers moved across her interface. I have prepared something special for them. The second Sithrax fleet entered Earth's orbit with weapons charged and shields at maximum. Their commander, Fleet Marshal Xantha Vril, had reviewed every sensor log from the first battle. She saw the railgun platforms, the cloaked stations, the hidden fighters. She understood now that Earth had defenses. But she also understood numbers. Her fleet carried enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. Whatever tricks the humans had used before would not save them from overwhelming force. She opened a communication channel on all frequencies, her translator rendering her words into the primitive languages detected on the surface. Humans of Earth. Your deception has been noted. Your resistance has been measured. You will surrender your world and your technology, or we will sterilize your planet from orbit. You have one rotation to comply. The channel remained silent for exactly 30 seconds. Then a single human voice responded in perfect Sithrax dialect, so flawless that every translator on the fleet registered it as native speech. Fleet Marshal Vril. We know your service record. 43 campaigns. 0 defeats. You have never faced an enemy like us. Vril felt her thermal vents flare in surprise. How did they know her name? How did they speak her language so perfectly? The voice continued, calm and almost gentle. Your fleet carries 200,000 soldiers. They have families on 12 colony worlds. We know their names. We know their children's names. We have already penetrated your communications network. Every tactical system you possess is compromised. Every weapon you aim at Earth can be turned against you. Around the bridge, officers stared at their displays in growing horror. Error messages cascaded across tactical screens. Targeting solutions flickered and died. Communication channels filled with phantom signals. Lyra Chin sat in her bunker beneath Beijing, her consciousness spread across the enemy fleet's entire digital infrastructure like a virus they had never detected. She had not waited for them to enter orbit. She had infiltrated their systems the moment they dropped out of hyperspace, riding the electromagnetic wake of their engines. Every firewall, every encryption protocol, every security measure the Sithrax Empire had developed over centuries, she tore through them as if they were paper. The human voice spoke again across every speaker in Vril's fleet. You came here to destroy us because you believe we are weak. You are wrong. We allowed your probes to see a primitive world because we wanted you to come close. We wanted you to believe victory was simple. And now you are here, in range of every weapon we have built, with your own weapons turned against you. On the view screen, Earth's orbital platforms activated again. But this time they did not fire immediately. They simply locked targeting solutions on every ship in the fleet. Hundreds of railguns. Thousands of missile tubes. Laser arrays that could burn through shields in seconds. You have a choice, Fleet Marshal, the voice said. Withdraw now and tell your empire what you learned here. Or stay and learn why every species that ever visited Earth in the ancient past left warnings in their archives. Warnings your emperor chose to ignore. Vril's combat instincts screamed at her to fire, to unleash everything she had and damn the consequences. But her survival instincts, honed across decades of warfare, told her something different. This was not bravado. This was not a bluff. The humans had already won, and they were giving her a chance to leave with her fleet intact. She had never retreated before. But she had never fought an enemy that had weaponized information itself. All ships, she ordered, her voice steady despite the rage burning in her chest. Withdraw to hyperspace transition distance. We are leaving. Her officers stared at her in disbelief. Marshal, the Emperor ordered. The Emperor is not here. Vril's tone carried absolute authority. And he did not face what I am facing now. Withdraw. Immediately. The fleet turned and burned toward the outer system. Not a single human weapon fired. They simply watched the aliens leave, tracking them with locked targeting solutions until they vanished into hyperspace. In the command center, Sergeant Roan exhaled slowly. They will come back. With more ships. More weapons. Yes, Kes agreed. But each time they come, they will hesitate a little longer. They will question a little more. And eventually, the cost of attacking Earth will outweigh any benefit they imagine. Dr. Estrin pulled up long-range sensor data. We are detecting communication bursts across multiple star systems. The Empire is talking to its allies, its trading partners, its rivals. The word is spreading. Lyra Chin disconnected from the enemy network, her neural implant cooling as she returned to normal consciousness. I left a gift in their systems before they jumped. Every ship in that fleet is now carrying a data packet they cannot detect. When they dock at Imperial stations, when they connect to central networks, that packet will spread. Not a virus. Just information. What kind of information? Kes asked. Chin smiled coldly. Everything we know about their weaknesses. Every vulnerability in their technology. Every strategic mistake they have ever made. And a simple message. Earth shares this freely with anyone who wishes to be our ally rather than our enemy. Kes understood immediately. Humanity was not just defending itself. It was reshaping the balance of power in the galaxy. The Sithrax Empire had enemies, rivals, species that resented their dominance. And now Earth was offering those species the tools to resist. Weeks passed. The third wave never came. Instead, something else arrived. A single unarmed ship, broadcasting diplomatic codes on all frequencies. It carried an ambassador from the Tal Shara Confederation, an alliance of smaller species that had long existed in the Empire's shadow. The message was simple. They wished to open dialogue with humanity. They wished to learn how Earth had remained hidden. They wished to propose a mutual defense pact. More ships followed. Traders, explorers, scientists, not invaders. They came with caution and respect, with offers of technology exchange and cultural programs. They came because they had heard the stories. They had seen the sensor logs. They knew that Earth was not a primitive world waiting to be conquered. It was a fortress that had hidden itself in plain sight, waiting for the galaxy to make a mistake. And when the galaxy finally understood what humanity had built, the fear changed everything. Standing in the observation deck of the first human orbital station to reveal itself openly, General Kess watched the alien ships arrive and depart in carefully controlled patterns. Beside him, Dr. Estrin spoke quietly. We gambled that the galaxy would fear us more than hate us. That they would choose negotiation over annihilation. And if they choose annihilation anyway? Kess asked. Estrin's expression was unreadable. Then Project Gaia has contingencies they have not seen yet. We did not just build defenses for Earth, General. We built them for the entire solar system. And we made sure that destroying us would cost far more than any empire could afford. Kess nodded slowly. Humanity had played the longest game in history. They had hidden. They had waited. They had built their trap with patience that spanned generations. And now the galaxy was learning the lesson that would echo for centuries. Never underestimate the species that evolved on a planet where everything was trying to kill them. They knew how to survive. They knew how to adapt. And they knew how to make their enemies regret ever finding them. The Empire had learned this the hard way. The rest of the galaxy was learning it now. And deep in the command centers beneath Earth's surface, humanity was already preparing for whatever came next. Because the trap had worked once. But the galaxy was vast, and there were threats far worse than the Sithrax Empire waiting in the dark between stars. Earth had announced itself. Now it had to survive what came after.